think it's live. Well, in the case that it is, hello, Seaside Shadows, and welcome to Mystical Mondays. It is Courtney and Andrew here today, and we are excited to be back with you. It's actually been a bit since we had a Mystical Monday, because we've had a lot going on, right, Andrew? We've been pretty busy.
Yeah, there has been a lot going on, even during our down season. So,
Yes,
the off season means big things.
Yes, I think we had recently winter solstice fell on a Mystical Monday or around that time, and we wanted to be sure that we had that very special time to get ready for 2021. And then our most recent one, to be honest, I was finishing a manuscript, and it was supposed to be during the week that I had to have it completed. So we wanted to make sure that the focus was on finishing the book about the ghosties. But we are so happy to be here. And we're going to do things, I think, a little bit in reverse this time. So usually we recap our recent segments first and chat with you guys about that. But I'd like to first just do some general talking about what's going on with us coming up at Seaside Shadows. And you can send us any questions that you have for us as we're going along about Seaside or the paranormal or anything of that nature. But perhaps the most exciting thing that's coming up, and that we have been working hard to get all set on our website, is that our season is starting in 12 days. Well, 11 days, because it's almost the end of the first. I can't believe it's March 1st right now. It's crazy. And it looks like the weather is coming in like a lion up here, in Connecticut, as we were taught as children. So we're going to have some windy, bad weather for a couple of days, but hopefully by March 12th, which will be our first tour of the season, we will be doing a bit better weather-wise, and regardless, we'll be out there, just bundle up, and we always try to remember our hand warmers. But we'll be starting our season March 12th, and we are going to be running from that point right until the new year. So we're very, very excited about that. Now, the schedule is going to look a little different than it has before. So on Fridays and Saturdays only in March, as we're starting to get into that warmer weather, we know that people are still hunkering down a bit at home. And then come April, we're going to start seeing you guys Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Same throughout May. And then come June, you guys will be ready for the summer. We'll be ready for the summer. And we're going to be out there 6 nights a week with you guys from June through October. And we couldn't be more thrilled about that. And of course, we have some extra tours going on in October that we've already put up there. And then November, we're going to cut it down just a bit to the weekends, and same in December, a bit more, but we will be there with you. What we have announced and on the calendar right now are our Downtown Mystic Ghost Tours and our Moonlit Mystic Graveyard Ghost Tours. They are the heart of everything at Seaside Shadows, and those are what we have scheduled, as well as our Halloween weekend paranormal investigations are announced and available, as well as, I know it's crazy to think of 2021 holidays, but our Ghost of Christmas Past tours are available as well. Now, if you are wondering if Elm Grove Haunted History Tours are coming back, the answer is yes. Those are going to start in April. So next month, we are going to have our first one on April 10th, and that should be on our website soon. And then we'll be following up with the schedule after that. We're still going to keep it a little more limited than our other tours, but more than last year. So we are really excited to bring back Elm Grove. Andrew and I have talked at length about our love of the Elm Grove Cemetery tour. and how much fun we've been having with it, and what a beautiful cemetery it is. And our guests seem to really be having a great time with that one too. So we would love to have you on that one, which brings us through Victorian era Connecticut, through the Civil War, and through World War I, and a little bit of War of 1812 makes it in there too. So be sure to join us on that when we announce it. And Andrew, what else am I forgetting?
Let's see. We have our very exciting Ireland tour.
Yes.
in
Oh, yes, yes.
2022.
So in April of 2022, I will be hosting a spiritual journey of Ireland's rebels and battlefields. And I'm going to be doing this with a lovely company called Mysterious Adventures, who are so fantastic. And we worked together to come up with an itinerary that is focused on the haunts of those who have tried very hard to free Ireland as an independent country over the centuries. This has taken place on battlefields and in rebellions. And of course, there's the famous Easter Rising of 1916 with Michael Collins and Eamon de Valera making their presence there. And of course, the men that were brought to Kilmainham and executed. And we'll be going to all of these hot spots for the rebels to really get to know their story and to communicate with them in a spiritual way. But I'm also very excited to say that we are making sure that we have some allotted time for paranormal investigations, not the least of which one will be taking place on an island called Spike Island, where Irish rebels used to be sent as a prison. And there's parts of the prison still there that we will be staying in overnight, looking for the spirits of those rebels, and it's known as Ireland's Alcatraz. So it should be pretty dark and spooky, but what you're hopefully looking for. So we're very excited about that. Now, those tickets are available already for April 2022. There is a link on our website, seasideshadows.com, as well as on Mysterious Adventures. You can make your reservation right now for just $100 deposit, and then you can break up the payments as you wish as you go through. Now, we will be announcing with Mysterious Adventures something for 2021. It's going to coincide with the book I have coming out, and it's going to take place in September. But until those tickets are available, it will be our little secret, and we'll make a big announce soon. Some of you may have already heard what we're doing, but if you're looking for a little domestic travel this year, that definitely will be available. And we're going to be working on a Scotland trip as well, for those of you asking. Another popular thing that we have not forgotten that will be coming back are the ghost boats. The ghost boats, we've been talking with our friends at the Thames River Heritage Park. We are working on picking some dates for the ghost boats, and we will be bringing back the pandemic ghost boat as well as the Revolutionary War ghost boat. So stay tuned for that. We're working on it. We know that the warm weather is just around the corner, and we want to be there on a boat with you. What else? Oh, we're also going to be talking with our friends at a lovely neighborhood restaurant and planning some events with them this year. As you know, restaurants couldn't host the events like we did in 2019 during 2020, but we are working on bringing back some of those this year in 2021, and we'll keep you posted on that as well. Now, a lot of folks are probably already wondering, what is it going to look like with the tours as far as COVID protocol. In 2021, things are looking better, a little bit different. Well, right now, while people are still getting vaccinated, Connecticut's doing pretty well from what I hear on that count. As far as numbers, we are going to make sure that there's still some social distancing and limited numbers in the very beginning of the season, but they are increasing capacity for events like ours in March, which is perfect timing for us. So we will be making sure that we have our full capacities back and ready for you this year. We will likely require masks until it's no longer advised, that we do so. And also as a business, we have to follow the rules. So when they tell us that we don't have to, then we will tell you that we don't have to, but we want to make sure that we follow those protocols and keep you safe. As always, our tours are almost all outdoors and socially distanced, and we are, knock on all the wood, happy to report that there are no cases traced to walking tours. So that makes this a very safe and fun way to spend part of your vacation or your time in Connecticut if you are a resident. Now, I think that's good for announcements on what we have coming up. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
And details on the upcoming book will be revealed soon for sure as well. And if you guys think of anything that I'm forgetting, be sure to let me know. We have increased our virtual segments. We have decided, we thought, are we going to keep doing them in 2021? But you guys seem to love them, and we love doing them because it brings us outside to new and fun places and interesting spirits. So we are going to keep bringing you as many cool stories and Cemetery Saturdays as we have possible. So we're going to keep going through the end of the year, and we just announced our schedule for all our virtual segments today online that are, as always, free for your enjoyment, and we hope that you just share them and tell people about us. If you want an exclusive spooky story that's not shared with the public and some fun discounts that you can use at Seaside Shadows, you can actually get some of this for as little as $5 a month by subscribing to our Patreon. So that's definitely something to take a look at on our website. And it's an extra way to get a little special spook just for you and to support us, especially if you're far away and this is, your joy and you're not able to come here at the time. So that's another great way to support us. But I think that makes us caught up on a lot. We will also be growing our team this year. We're very excited. Andrew and I have been hosting interviews for for what seems like forever, but it wasn't forever, was it, Andrew?
No, it just felt like it.
Yeah. We've been working on it, and we're really excited because we have some great tour guides that are joining our team, and that we think that you're going to have an enormously fun time with this year, and we can't wait to get them started. So a lot of exciting things happening at Seaside Shadows. We're so excited to have you and grow with you and bring you on all these new haunted history adventures. But now we get to the part where we get to discuss our recent segments. If you have comments or questions on a segment other than the most recent three, feel free to shoot those at us. I know we've had a few in the meantime, but I want to start with talking about the most recent Witchy Wednesday with Andrew, Male Witches. It's a very popular series on our YouTube channel, is the story of male witches, because I think there is a lot of preconceived notions that witches have to be female or women, and that is not in fact true. So Andrew, can you talk a little bit about what inspires you to share the stories of these male witches and what strikes you about witchcraft as it relates to men?
Yeah, so I think you really nailed it on the head when you said that we have this preconceived notion that witches have to be female. And like I brought up in both of the male witch segments that I've done so far, that has not been the case. Though historically those persecuted for witchcraft have been female, in a lot of places in the world it flips and it's predominantly male witches getting persecuted. But take persecution out of it entirely, and male and female practitioners of witchcraft go back a very, very long ways.
They do. They do. And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people consider witches today what were not necessarily considered witches hundreds of years ago. They were considered people just, having their spiritual beliefs, or, practicing the art of healing, that so many people considered to be magic. So these were people that were actually just living their life by their beliefs, and somehow over the centuries they've been called witches. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that springs to mind when you mention that is the shepherd, and how often shepherds were associated with witches just because of the similarities of the things that people associated with shepherds and witches. Wolves, darkness, their herbal gardens,
Mhm.
things that they would do to protect their flock or their home and their tribe. Like, so a lot of these things people associate with both, and so you get witchcraft out of it.
Yes. Um, And that reminds me, we are going to bring back Seaside Shadows of Salem this year. We're going to work on a very special virtual segments and tours of Salem that you can participate in. But of course, Salem, Massachusetts, the Salem witch trials are known as, one of the most prominent American stories that we think of when we think of witchcraft. It's been on a lot of people's minds lately, with WandaVision doing a little bit on the Salem witch trials, though they get the year wrong. Side note, it's 1692, but anyway, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. They're exposing the story of it. But one of the things that I have found in Salem in particular that people don't realize is that a lot of those executed, accused, and executed in Salem were in fact men, and no small number of them either. A lot of people know famously of Giles Corey, who was pressed to death in Salem, but there's of course John Proctor. If you guys are familiar with the Crucible story, which again is not historically accurate, but a great exposure to the tales, they'll show you Daniel Day-Lewis does a great job portraying John Proctor in a film about that. But they also show you George Burroughs, an elderly man, and many other men that were considered witches. And some of the claims against them were as simple as them defending their wife or, trying to stand up for what they believed in. And when that didn't go with the common belief at the time that was being perpetuated in church or in the community, which was called on them as well. So, what's funny is even in the 1600s, they didn't differentiate between a male or female witch. Everyone was equally, able to be called that. I think women may be a bit more because they were not allowed to defend themselves quite as much as men might be. But a lot of men in vulnerable states of life, such as being elderly, would absolutely be a target in Puritan New England, at least, which was, those trials were over 100 years after the famous medieval trials in Europe. Another thing that I'm just going to note while we're remarking on this is in America, witches were not burned, they were hanged, which was for hundreds of years a very American death sentence. But it's interesting, and as we have gone through Witchy Wednesdays, we have made a lot of references to gods in a variety of cultures: Norse, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and there's gods and goddesses in equal play there. And they were all considered magical in their ways and seers. So for centuries, people have been looking to men and women for their own unique magic. So the male witches segment has been really fun, and I'm really glad to see that people are so interested, because I think in a way we all have our own magic. That's why we've looked to the gods and goddesses for so long. And hopefully, no matter what gender you identify with, you find your magic and what fits you and suits you and who you want to look to in the magic world. And I'm very glad we're not in Puritan New England anymore, as we look to that and go back to the old ways, some of us.
Yeah, we would be in trouble.
we'd be in trouble. Also, the old ways are coming back. In COVID, everyone was making the gardens and growing their herbs, myself included. And that's definitely something that I want to bring back. And I think this year, Andrew, it might be fun if we did a segment on some of the darker herbs, like the, the scary herbs. So you can have like a nice magic garden, and then you can have the
Not so
garden. But we won't tell you exactly how to do it because we don't want you to go grow a bad garden. But they did exist, the witch's garden or the devil's garden. So we can talk about that. Powerful herbs, both sides of the fence. So the next segment, while we're getting controversial here.
Yeah, here it comes.
Here it comes. And actually, I considered not doing this segment. But I did it. And here we are. Twitter didn't let me post it, but
no, Twitter did not. Nope. They were angry about a certain word.
But I love a good historical conundrum, mystery, strangeness. And one of the strange things that came to my attention was that in Little New London, Connecticut, just north of Mystic, there's a beautiful cemetery, and we actually did one of our first cemetery Saturdays there about a Revolutionary War hero and his wife, who was also a hero, Abigail Hinman, namely. And that cemetery is another rural landscape in a city, if that makes sense. But it has, through the centuries, grown. And one burial was marked only in recent decades. It had not been marked except until the 1960s to the 1990s. And it was even a source of contention at the time. So the story comes, of course, for a man named Gustavus Smith. Gustavus is a pretty cool name. I'm going to give Gustavus that.
He's got style in the name.
Yeah. I'm going to give Gustavus a good name there. Gustavus was from Kentucky, being a border state, or a state that had both sides in the Civil War, meaning they had those fighting for the Union and those fighting for the Confederacy. There were almost a handful of states that were participating in this way, so literally brother against brother. But he was born, decades before the Civil War. He's born in 1821, and he finds himself in Connecticut after he graduates West Point, because he finds himself at a place familiar to many of us locals as Fort Trumbull. He's placed there as an engineer. He's helping with the construction there. He's helping with his station there. And as he's living his life in New London, he falls in love. And he falls in love with a woman who's from a sea merchant family, Lucretia Bassett. So she has a little bit of money that's coming with her. They fall in love and they start their life together. So it would seem like a normal story. And if the Civil War was not coming into context, he would be maybe a Southern man that relocated from Connecticut because he fell in love with his wife here and she had a bit more to give. But the war takes off, and Gustavus feels his allegiances with the Confederacy, and he participates in the Confederacy and earns his rank of Major General. And he sees battle there, and he even takes charge before Robert E. Lee comes at some of these sites. So he's really the man that people are looking up to in the early part of the Civil War. And he does become injured, but he comes right back into the fray. He survives the war, and he does come back up north, becomes a writer, an accountant, a variety of other things. And he lives in New York City, but his family had a burial plot purchased for him in New London with the rest of the Bassett family, which is his wife's, and he becomes buried in New London. So we did a little cemetery Saturday about that. You can also look up Gustavus online and see his really storied military career, and and some interesting points about him before and after the Civil War, that he was such a hard worker and things like this, but he was not given a stone, which means other than historical records, no one would have really known he was buried there. But it made some pretty big news in the Hartford Courant and the New York Times in the 70s when a descendant suggested that he wanted to put a stone by his great-great-grandfather. And the historians kind of gathered and molded over and decided that, you know, a gravestone is not necessarily a monument to someone's deeds, but a marker of where they're buried, and everyone in a way deserves a gravestone that somebody can come and visit. And the ultimate determination was that a gravestone would be placed there. And it's, you know, it's doesn't really have a lot of ornaments. It's not tall, it's big. It's just a little stone that says, you know, his name and his title. So you wouldn't notice it when you're going through. Or you may have noticed it, rumor has it, according to the London Day, that up until recent past, that some folks, when they were placing, you might see the American flag at veteran stones, that he did have a Confederate flag by his stone as a marker of his particular service. I did not see that. I heard that recent visitors and the articles I've read said they have not seen it. So I want to just go out and say, don't go looking through there and thinking that something's amiss or you have to destroy a monument. I, you know, hand to God, did not see a flag. I just saw a stone with his wife's family. But it was curious, a Confederate in Connecticut. We thought how odd, a Confederate general no less, but it all comes back to a love story. And my favorite part of the story is Uncle Billy, William Sherman. Mm-hmm. He has to make a decision on the matter at one point. When the war is taking off, Lucretia Bassett Smith is being found by the Union. She is married to a traitorous man as far as they're concerned. So she needs protection, and she needs to make sure that her husband has protection at the end of the war. So she uses her charms on General William Sherman when she's visiting Savannah, Georgia, where he famously had his march to the sea. And he found her so charming and so delightful that he himself, as that very stern Union general, offered protection for the Smiths. So Sherman was kind of a hard ass. And if Sherman thought that she needed protection, then I'll give a little forgiveness there. You know, he was tough. He was a tough cookie. Ask the people in Savannah about him today, and they'll still tell you some funny stories. Yeah. So that was our unique cemetery Saturday, and Andrew and I have been discussing some ideas for our upcoming cemetery Saturdays. Yeah. We have some very exciting ideas coming, but one of them, one of our ideas actually came about from our Spooky Story Sunday. So we love a good legend, and we, you know, gravitate to ghost stories. But what if a creature and a ghost story mixed together? Can that happen? Where would that happen? In New England, of course, namely in Connecticut, and creatures using the dead for their own vendetta, so to speak. And they are still doing so today in Connecticut. Kind of terrifying. Not gonna lie, Andrew and I were researching this, and we were a little scared. A little scared. And there seems to be this paranormal area near Hamden, Connecticut, that is the story of these creatures. It's the story of a cemetery Saturday we have coming up. It's a place where Bigfoot is seen and UFOs fly over, a strange little corner of our state. But namely this week, this past week, Andrew talked about Pukwudgies. So Andrew, do you want to recap for us what the Pukwudgie is and why it is so terrifying?
So the Pukwudgie is, so they're thought of as like a forest spirit creature. They resemble sort of gnomes or like small trolls, not the like Dungeons and Dragons type of troll, but like the old school style troll. They are very small creatures. So some myths have them being 2 to 3 feet tall. Those are the big ones. Some others only come up to about your knee. But regardless, they're not very large, but they have incredible magical powers, like truly terrifying amount of things that these things can do to you. They can coerce the human mind. They can make you commit suicide. They can disorient you. They can make you forget things. They can conjure poison arrows. They can shapeshift. They can turn invisible. They
That's a
can,
lot.
yeah, it's, and that,
Now, would you say it's them doing it, or do you subscribe more to the theory, which is where maybe I'm inclined, but I'm interested to see what you think? The theory that they maybe don't do all of this themselves, but they were wronged by humans. And so thus they are good at kind of luring humans into these death type scenarios and then using their spirits to do some of this mystical activity.
they definitely lure people. They definitely, they're trickster spirits. And some tribes thought that they weren't altogether evil. They were just mischievous. That they were just these mostly harmless trickster things. But the the tale of humans really not getting along with them goes back to the Algonquin tribes. And they view these things as bad, as forces of even death.
Not at
Because,
first, correct? They were friends, and then
well, at first they still saw them as a nuisance, but the
okay.
Pukwudgie just wanted to be friends. They wanted to help, but were still these mischievous things. So they would help, but they would also play pranks and things
Mhm.
like that. So ultimately, they wanted them out and gone. Um, and so they went to their hero, a giant, and they got him to get rid of the Pukwudgie. And this ended up with some Pukwudgies dying and them swearing a vendetta against all of humanity.
Interesting. Now I have two questions that come to mind, and you can answer them in order, but I'm going to ask them both so I don't forget them. The first one, many documents I read said they are not the Fae. They're not
Yeah,
fairies. They're not leprechauns. They're not the Fae. But
yeah, no.
other, researchers have felt that they are a form of Fae because of their mischievous nature and their powers. So I'm interested to think, after your storytelling, if you think they are the Fae. And secondly, why they have picked seemingly two areas in New England, the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, and then this little cove in Connecticut. Why that? What is it about this cove?
So to answer the first question, um I I I'm I'm not sure
About the Fae?
about the Fae. Yeah, they have a lot of similarities. There are, so I think of like will-o-wisps and dancing lights that lure people into like fogs, and they use very similar tricks and tactics to lure people. And then their magical abilities are similar in aspect to what the Fae can do: shapeshift, vanish, coerce, influence.
Mhm.
um so there's definitely a lot of similarities, but i I view them as a separate entity because of their origin, and they're mostly, they're being attributed to the native uh lore. I see them as more like pseudo forest spirits than full on fae.
Right. Which again, the argument could be made that the Fae are forest spirits.
Yes. But I view them as more of a natural thing, like say probably other cryptids
Yes.
rather than fae.
And I have seen them be physically described to be almost like ugly hobbits.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that
which
that
is,
is a
I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Does that mean it's more like Gollum like? I have questions, you know.
I see. I picture them sort of like the goblin from the labyrinth.
Ah, I can see that too.
Yeah,
I
but
can see
with
that too.
like porcupine quills, because that's one of their favorite things to do is make their backs have porcupine quills. Also, one of the things that I found most interesting about them is despite this very unpleasant description of their appearance, they are supposed to be very, very good smelling.
To lure you in, right? I think that's the part I found most frightening about them. And we'll go back to the other question, but like the stories are that they can use the spirits to appear as someone seeking help on the side of the road, right? Which makes me think of the vanishing hitchhiker. You know, are some of those tales not, in fact, the ghost of a woman who is looking for a ride, but they're being controlled by the Pukwudgies to bring you into the woods, or they're summoning you, or they'll even appear as a beam of light as if like someone's trying to signal for help from the woods, and any of us might pull over and follow that light only to have something happen. So you know, I think that's the most frightening, is that they kind of appear normal in a sense, and then they're not. um but why
Why the area?
Connecticut? Yeah, why Connecticut? Why Massachusetts?
So I'm not sure about these areas specifically, but I know one thing about the Pukwudgie, and it seems to relate to these areas as well, is that they are more often likely to appear in areas that have other paranormal things, like other strong paranormal energies. And so all of these other things being cited in those areas, it makes sense that these Pukwudgie, who do seem to be drawn to mythical, paranormal, cryptid energies, appear more often.
Now, what's odd too to me, and it just occurred to me, is so they're small. They're, you know, they're not quite fae, they're not quite hobbits, but they're small. And the Bigfoot story that's from that area is referred to as the small Bigfoot,
Yes, and
the little Bigfoot.
they take on animalistic characteristics. They can shapeshift and like take on the fur of a bear or something like that. It's possible that
That they're the Pukwudgie, not just two
not
different
just a little
creatures.
Bigfoot. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, that's more curious and more alarming, maybe.
Mm.
But I forget what the road is, which is good because hopefully I'm not gonna like be driving down it, you know, like looking in. The only other area where, you know, people ask if we've experienced things like this. I have not experienced a Pukwudgie, thank God. Um, thank God. Or
They're
you
very
know,
easy to disrespect, and they don't like that.
and I just don't want to like play with fire, you know, but there's one area and you know, in my work as a medium, I don't really play with things that aren't human, but when I was driving by Dudleytown, I did see a creature, you know, by the river, almost playing a flute that looked kind of hobbit like, that my husband Marty didn't see, and he kind of went away. And I often wonder, you know, what that was. Is it something like that, trying to get your attention? Almost cute, almost curious. And is that in Dudleytown as well, which is another kind of hole for paranormal and bad luck and strange things that aren't always human related. And
Not
whenever
be
we get,
surprised.
Yes, and it's also in Western Connecticut. So something's going on in our that area of the state. You know, like us mystic tour people, we're like, oh, I don't know, it's scary over there. It's scary with us too, but there's some creature stuff happening, and it's
Yeah,
it's odd, and we understand ghosts, right? But do we understand the other creatures? And you know,
cryptids.
no, and one of the questions, you know, I think as we get more and more into the paranormal, everything gets so layered. And one of the layers that has also been coming up in regards to creatures and ghosts is, of course, the matrix and interdimensional theories of what activity is from another dimension or reality versus the paranormal that's in this one. So, um, with creatures like that, I wonder, are they real somewhere else and we're getting glimpses of them and people getting trapped by them here? I'm glad I'm in, if they are in another reality, I'm glad I'm not in it, like,
Yeah, better this one.
yeah. I'm gonna adopt, subscribe to that. So we are thinking of doing a cemetery Saturday near there that has nothing to do with the Pukwudgies, and we will try to avoid that
We
little
will avoid them, yes.
path. And we have another interesting cemetery Saturday we're thinking of in that corner of Connecticut. So for the next couple months, hopefully we'll make it out there to film some pretty fascinating segments for you guys for Cemetery Saturdays, and we'll continue to try to find some pretty bizarre stories for you. The Pukwudgies is something I remember hearing about growing up, but never really worrying too much about because I grew up in Eastern Connecticut, same town as Andrew, and Pukwudgies didn't seem to frequent East Hampton, Connecticut.
No.
We had
Thankfully.
we had our own stuff, but not Pukwudgies. So I remember hearing about that, and they do seem to thrive in these supernatural like vortexes, which is a lot of people say Bridgewater Triangle is up in Massachusetts. We've had some guests come and tell us they're from there and how scary it is. Some of the things they've seen and encountered. So Pukwudgies was definitely on the scarier side of our spooky story Sunday that we've done in a while. Yeah, we saw that and we said, that's scary. Let's do it. But we are always looking for more material, and we do hope that you're enjoying them. And if you have any questions, say you watch a segment and you're left with questions, we try to put in as much as we can, but we can't always put in everything. So feel free to send them to us. We have someone that's going to be helping us with our social media very soon. And we're so excited. But you can send us questions so that we can respond in a timely manner or put it on the next Mystical Monday. If you can wait that long for an answer, we'll try to squeeze it into there. Because if you have the question, odds are someone else has the same question. And there is the firm hope that we have the answer. So please be sure to send us your questions about any segments. You can also send us questions about the paranormal. If you feel like you've been experiencing activity and you want to know if other people are experiencing it too, or if there's something that's going on astrologically, this is a great forum to kind of chat and talk about that so that we can, confirm that maybe we have had similar experiences. Also, feel free to share with us any paranormal sightings you have from your neck of the woods or photos. Those are perfect for this segment so that we can share them and talk about them. And we want to keep doing Mystical Mondays, but we want to engage with you on them. So just send us anything and we will chat with you. But I think that's all I had. We squeezed in a lot in our 45 minutes. Do you have anything else, Andrew, that we didn't miss? Am I missing? I'll check my phone, but I don't think I missed a question.
Nope, I've been checking continuously for questions. None this time.
All right.
Just that I'm very excited for this season and for all of our new help. and for all of what the future brings for Seaside, and everyone else should get very excited as well.
Yes, no shortage of history and mystery, and we always we want to go everywhere with you and have these wonderful historical and spiritual experiences. So please keep chatting with us, coming to see us. 2021 is going to be great. I can feel it, and I hope you can feel it too. And until next time, we thank you for being a Seaside Shadows supporter, and we hope to spook you soon. Bye, everybody.